Hi, my name is Monterastelli, and the video you are about to watch is a recording from the 24 Hours of Tapping, which is an event that is held annually to support the Peaceful Heart Network. If you appreciate or learn anything from this video, the easiest way for you to say thank you is to support the work of the Peaceful Heart Network, who has worked with over 300,000 migrants, immigrants, prisoners, folks in disaster areas by bringing tapping to them. As you watch the video, across the bottom, you will see a link where you can support their amazing work. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. Jondi loves energy work and her beloved EFT to a host of tapping adaptations that reflect years of practical hands-on training, mentoring, and client work. She calls herself the people's teacher in honor of her commitment to making energy work accessible to all. Jondi's work includes training for groups and individuals seeking to use energy tools for healing, recovery from trauma, personal transformation. She is a particular place in her professional life for humanitarian outreach, work with veterans, indigenous people, and teachers. And just as a personal note, I don't think there is another person on the planet who teaches emotional first aid better than the woman I'm bringing to the stage. Please welcome my friend, Jondi Whitis. Hello,
Thank
friend.
you. That was so kind. How you doing, brother? I'm so glad.
Well, I am merely a prophet of the Lord and only speak the truth. I can't help it. It is just what is true.
Well, you and I are big fans of the truth, and often I even embellish that and call it the simple truth. And the first person
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes we're not going to let the truth get in the way of a good, useful healing story as we navigate our way through all of this stuff. So, you know me well enough to know that I love copywriting and I love thinking about things and I love a provocative, sexy title. And so the sensory superpower of emotion, that is a title that makes me jealous that I did not come up with a title like that. Like it just sings. And so as you were thinking about the conversation that you wanted to have today and share with our lovely audience that is gathered, like what led you to landing at this particular place for the conversation today?
Well, since I come by it honestly, I am a Pisces, a very Aquarian one, but I am a Pisces, and the Pisces swims in the ocean of emotion. And so I think that I recognize lots of people don't have that point of view.
Yeah.
And lots of the people that you and I would routinely talk to or see might find their emotions either annoying or fear orienting or angry making, just because they're rather insistent when we ignore them. So I thought this is common, and I think it's a common misunderstanding about us and our design. And so that's what floats my boat, is being able to tell people, you know what, I think I might want to talk to you about what emotions are.
Yeah.
And what they do for you.
Yeah.
And therefore, that becomes the superpower, is this inner GPS, inner guidance messenger service that you're born with.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and our beloved Gary Craig, who gave us these absolutely amazing gifts. The only thing that ever struck me as a little odd is this idea of emotional freedom, where I understand what it's like to have that sense of relief on the other side. But I think, and I don't believe, I'm not writing his intention to this. This is my bias when I hear that like some people approach this as the goal of this tool is to be free of my emotions. And
you brought that up because Gene, I don't think that's what he actually
awesome. And that's what I said. Like I said, that
Right.
is my bias that I bring to that particular vocabulary. And that's the reason why I think it's really useful for us to have a conversation like this is, yeah.
Let's look at it this way. I adore Gary and thank him for making this huge change in my life by giving me these tools. And so I want to say, I believe the freedom is to feel and use it. not
Oh,
to be
thank you.
burdened.
Thank you. You have taken this thing that has been sticking in my head for a decade and a half, and we have just turned it. It is no longer stuffing that is sticking in my head. Thank you. That is the exact reframe I needed to hear for that. Okay, now great. Now let's unpack what you mean as we're engaging with that. We can just set that name aside because I want to engage with what we're talking about here.
Well, riffing off where you're coming from, I think
Yeah.
we're taught to think about fixing our emotions.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we're supposed to fear them or fix them. I think we're supposed to pay attention. They are purposeful allies that are innately wired inside of us
Yeah.
for good reason. Because as most of us know, the prefrontal cortex that we overuse is the last to know.
Yeah.
Last to know. And so emotions are messengers that go before the understanding and the executive function and then the choice and the acting. They are messengers. And I love to make them anthropomorphic. I love to see them just speeding up to the desk and taking a piece of paper and
Yeah.
dashing off on their messenger to you. But if they're ringing the doorbell or tapping on the window and you're not answering it, they have no choice as a delivery mechanism, but to keep on trying to deliver.
Yeah. And you mentioning that thing of like anthropomorphizing them, that was the thing that just unlocked parts work for me and understanding what's going on. Like I know it doesn't have agency, but if I think about the information system that is my emotion, and each of these things have agency, which means they have a motivation, and then my job is to understand the motivation, and the motivation isn't a choice, but frustration's motivation is to point out a need is not being met. Fear's motivation is to point out danger. Sadness's motivation is to point out something that's been disconnected. And for me, like, yes, like it gives me the words to say when I'm tapping. Not that the words are magic, but it helps me to stay present to what is going on. Because if I don't have words, I walk away. And so like giving me a way to think about those things makes it easier for me to sit at the table and as I'm engaging with this stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that they are so devoted to parts work because that is what they are. It is a part that has
Yeah.
a purpose, and the purpose is always meaning to be helpful
Yeah.
in the best way that they can based on whatever's going on for you, right? So it's not a problem, it's a path to more information that is primarily oriented to your survival. But along this emotional freedom to feel and use and be informed idea, it is about we are having a path to greater understanding, to greater choice giving, to greater conscious use of
Mhm.
whatever you own, a resource, an idea, a personality form, right? We're not suffering from having emotions. We're suffering from being cut off from understanding what they mean
Yeah.
to you, right? So just like those helpful things you mentioned, I could say, well, yeah, anger is an emotional state,
Mhm.
but it's also before I even get there, it's probably a message going, excuse me, I'd really like you to pay attention to something because
Yeah.
I'm a little
Yeah.
concerned, right? And so this is how I'm hopefully teaching myself and others to look at the messenger. What is the messenger trying to do for you?
Yeah.
Because at a higher level, it's not about survival, it's about thrival.
And like one of the fundamentals that just kind of bounces around in my head as a framework when I'm doing work is fully articulated emotions are short-lived.
Yes.
You
And
know,
can I say that in my 8-year-old English, which is
please.
my
Yeah.
specialty, which is as soon as the messenger is able to deliver the note, they are out of there and back to the
Yeah.
desk with their next assignment.
Yeah.
They don't live with you. They just keep
Right.
on until they're able to deliver. That's all.
I
Once
I
delivered, it's
yeah.
I'm out of here.
the place I always land when I think about those things is I think of a 5-year-old in the back seat going, "Hey, hey, 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 hey," and you go, "Yes," and they go, "Windmill," and you're like, "Yes, it's a windmill." That's it. Like it was, I noticed, and I want you to notice, you noticed, job done. We now move on to the next thing. And that's all that needs to happen. Just giving it a chance to be acknowledged. And it's so funny. Like I've always thought of, as a computer scientist, my emotions are an information system.
That's it.
And the moment you put a little Western Union cap on that little emotion and he's carrying it around, like it takes on like an even deeper level and meaning for me being able to engage with that particular piece of it. Like it just, like so often when like I'm doing work on my own, I'm working with my clients and I talk about how the subconscious mind works. I always have to say, this is not how the subconscious mind works. I'm not a neurologist. I don't understand what's going on in the brain. This is a framework for me to try and have access to what my internal experience is in a useful way. And so,
Yes.
like you said, by personifying this thing with a job that's trying to deliver a message, okay, I know how to do that. Just like parts work, I know how to take an employee, affirm their desire to be helpful, coach them into actually being helpful. And by doing that, like I have the framework to be able to do the work. So I'm grounded and I have a way forward inside of this. And so like,
Yes.
it's a messenger trying to tell me something. Awesome. Great.
And,
I now
and
want to listen to it. What is it saying?
exactly. And I think that it's my kind of shared goal, like you, which is a kind, curious compassion,
Yeah.
right? When I'm asking, I'm thinking, why do we routinely learn to suppress our emotions? All of us. Well, because it may not be safe to express it or feel it. It might be inconveniently timed. It
Yeah.
might be scary because you don't know what to do with it and you've never been taught that, right? It might be attached to other meanings, right? An experience of not being believed
Yeah.
or not being seen or not being comforted, just plain
Yeah.
comforted, right? And so what happens is we follow that little river and we're suddenly diminished or we're punished or we're shamed for feeling. We're taught that they're bad or they're weak or that they're
Yeah.
something. And personal story is my stepdad who raised me, such a good man, such a hardworking guy, but I think he was very frustrated that I was so in tune with my emotions,
Mhm.
and that would be my front line of understanding and response. And if I had a nickel for every time he said to me, "I don't care how you feel. I wanna know how you think." The well-meaningness of how
Yeah.
he had been understanding how to be in the world safe that he was trying to pass on to me basically said to the kid, your emotions are bad. They don't matter. I don't care. I don't want to hear them. You should lose that. It's a very confusing thing. And so I have a lot of compassion for others
Yeah.
who might have had that experience.
I do every year. I do a full 1-day retreat, and the start of that retreat is what you told you were too as a kid.
Yes.
Too much emotion, too much, whatever, and
Too
just
much.
like to anything. Because when we're being told TOO, like
Yes.
that particular version of two, that safety thing kicks in. Like
Yes.
like you are being implicitly taught that the way that you are operating in the world is either like not useful
Mhm.
or wrong, and you want to fit in and you are learning from these things. And the difficult thing is to go back to the place that you started, this idea that emotions are icky and we don't want to deal with them. And if I'm a person that just goes, emotions are icky, I don't want to deal with them,
Mhm.
anybody who emotes, it's like, psh, 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 psh. And they are protecting themselves. And what they don't realize is that they're modeling to us, it is not safe for us to engage in that particular behavior. And so it makes sense that we would be carrying these cultural stories that is wanting us to numb, step away from, repress, ignore, just make them go away. Like it makes sense that those are the cultural and communal stories that we're carrying. Like for me in my work, it goes safe and allowed is nothing more than safe in community. I'm allowed to do, if I'm not allowed to do it, I'm doing something that is unaccepted in the community, which means poop, I'm popped out and then I'm in danger.
Right.
And so, yeah, like it's so easy to have a huge amount of compassion for someone who is struggling to do what you're saying, like have the freedom to experience their emotions, because we have been culturally taught implicitly or explicitly that's not the way forward as we're engaging with this. And just saying that out loud, I think, is a gift to a lot of people.
Well, good, because I think back to your workshop, I would love to be with that workshop with you, because I think it's sort of a nice human bookend. Are you not enough, or are you too much?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the fun thing. It's like I can be told I'm too emotional and not emotional enough in the same moment by the exact same person.
That's not confusing at all, right?
Not at all. Yeah. Yeah. Like one of the refrains that has been in my office hours when something comes up, I go, well, I guess we've just proved once again that you are human. Like as we're engaging with this stuff, of course that is perplexing. Of course that makes it hard for us to have a firm place to stand. And so then it becomes doubly difficult, because I don't have a firm place to stand because I don't have access to this useful information inside of me. And I have been taught trying to access that information inside of me is the wrong thing for me to be doing. So I'm wrong-footed, and I have been told I can't solve that particular problem because solving that particular problem is the wrong way to do it.
Right. And also trying to solve that particular problem.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
we've mostly been taught, right?
Yeah.
At least modern times. And so I don't think enough of us are taught what are emotions and what's in it for me. To use the American version, what's in it for me? Well, it's guidance, clarity, connection to your inner wisdom, better resources and resourcefulness for problem solving, emotional intelligence that will help you in the world. We're not taught that. Right. Even in your SEL classes that are either being championed or destroyed right now. Either way, the idea is we're very elementary in our understanding of real emotional intelligence at work in humans in the right now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, because like, particularly those of us who are raised in the West, the West is so, late stages capitalism is just so transactional in the way that we engage with all of this stuff. And the language of emotion is not transactional. The language of emotion is presence. The language of emotion is in the moment, which is different than something that is transactional as we're engaging with that particular thing.
I love that fine line that you've drawn. And also in a time of expediency, we were often taught this binary thinking, black, white, good, bad. Right? It's disguised as efficiency. And it's so transactional that it leaves us bankrupt.
Yeah. And this idea of like that sense of like making it fast. I was there's a movie podcast that is hosted by Will Leach and Tim Gerson. Tim Gerson lives in LA, and he's a movie critic. And they did a question and answer podcast recently, and one of the questions was about movie theater etiquette. Phones, talking, that sort of stuff. And Tim said, one of the rules is you're not allowed to ask me what I think of the movie until we get to the car. Because he doesn't he wants to process and think, and like it's not the, the credits rolling, well, what do you think type thing. This thing is 2.5 hours long, and there are these emotional arcs inside of it a snap judgment might not actually be my assessment of this particular thing. And it was, and it, for me, it was such a beautiful conversation, because I thought the conversation was going to be about phones and snacks and when do you open your bag and do you clean up your trash, and all of those things came up in movie etiquette.
Yeah.
But like, it was such a crystal clear, he understood for him, and as a movie critic, even after he'd seen the movie, he forbade himself from reading any other criticism, because he wanted to sit and wrestle and figure out. And then he would go read other criticism, go, oh my gosh, it's a new piece of information. Oh, I've rethought what is going on. But he wanted to give himself that time to incubate inside of what's going on. And like when we are asked a question, it is antithetical to this moment to go, I don't know, let me think about that particular thing.
Absolutely.
And the way we solve that problem today is, oh, that's a really good question, which is not a really good question. It's just, I am trying to culturally buy myself some time so I can actually think about what I'm trying to do and understand where I'm coming from emotionally. Yes. And the easiest way for me to do that is to flatter you because of the question you just answered me, which gives me a little space and a little grace to be able to do that thing, because there's a part of us that instinctually wants to process, because these things are dynamic and big.
Well, the processing is another of our innate gifts, right? The ability to process instead of react. Here we are again. Yeah. And so whether we're talking about that knee-jerk efficiency of somebody asks me a question, I have to answer. I use the word percolate because it reminds me of those old-fashioned coffee pots.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Fail to become.
I can hear the commercial in my head. Yes.
There you go. So I can't tell you how many business kind of people are undone by the rapidity of being pounded with questions, and they feel like they have to react instead of learning what you're just saying, which is, that's an interesting question. Give me a minute. You know, I'm going to look into that and get back to you. Those are not also taught, but that is giving yourself that scope of time to process or percolate more fully, using these beautiful superpowers that we're talking about.
Yeah. And it's, our emotions are not digital. You know, and there are times where there are extremes to them, but they always exist in this space of gradation, to the point that, like, whenever I am using emotional vocabulary and in a client setting or in a teaching setting, when I use a piece of emotional vocabulary, I am then always going to take great pains to say, and this is what I mean by this piece of vocabulary, just because it's our language is so insufficient to be able to clearly articulate what is going on. I mean, to the point that, like, you know, when I am working with a client, I almost always have them tap in their native tongue, not English with me, because there is an emotional richness to their native tongue that, like, I know emotions in Spanish, but those are vocabulary words, kind of like I'm answering a trivia question. How many home runs did Hank Aaron hit in 1968? Like, it's a fact. Anger is this word, which is different than angry, you know, than it's disappointed, than it's betrayed. Like there, even if I am not talking about someone, if I say the word betrayed, like, there is a kinesthetic experience to that particular thing. And so, like, it's, you know, like,
these are really great things to grapple with. And I'm following your through line again, the idea that they're not digital, they're more analog, for those of us who remember what that means. It's a richer, more nuanced, more microscopically constructed tapestry that is being offered to you than this binary kind of experience. So you can feel that, but also, like our mutual brother Ulf likes to talk about, you know, words can be a blunt instrument.
Yeah.
Because they're often not very nuanced. They may go back to the emotion wheel where I have only got
Yeah.
6, you know,
Yeah.
instead of the full experience where maybe I have 300 versions of that. So honoring that deep mystery and curiosity about what does that mean to you? And then even being able to express that emotional messenger or signaling as, well, I don't think I have the words. Great.
Yeah.
For a
Like,
minute, put the words down and show me a symbol or a picture or a color gradation. Allow yourself to pull in all this information that doesn't actually always have words. Allow that to inform you.
yeah. And like for me, it's like one of the things that I'm loving more and more is not like at the end of a round of tapping, the question I typically ask someone I'm working with is, what did you notice?
Mhm.
And I'm asking that question because I'm trying not to put my thumb on the scale and what's released and what's hanging around. And like, I just want to give them a sense to like permission to do that particular thing.
Correct.
But the other thing that I'm finding myself doing more and more, and I'm really liking is I'm saying, what I want you to do is I want you to tap and notice.
Mhm.
And that's it. Not evaluate, not understand, just, and if you notice something, just bring your attention to it. And
Mhm.
again, that's not an evaluation, that's
Right.
not an understand. It's just an acknowledgement and a recognition of the thing that is there. And it is amazing how often that is sufficient. And I don't mean it's sufficient for me to now have an entryway to change, but
Mhm.
it's sufficient because I have taken the flashlight, my English friend, I've taken the torch, and I'm just shining it on that thing. Full stop. I'm done with what I need to be doing in that particular place. Because again, fully articulated emotions are short lived, and
Mhm.
fully articulated doesn't mean I have vocabulary or language to it. It
Ex
just means I have embodied that particular thing. And that can be sufficient for me, again, to go back to your lovely reframe of I'm having the freedom to experience my emotions fully because they are not dangerous, they are not wrong, they are not countercultural, they are the thing that I just am experiencing in this moment, and I don't have to do it. Like it's the reason why art is created. You know, art is the thing that conveys that stuff that I do not have words for.
Absolutely.
I have on my forearm here, I have a tattoo of a painting by Oswaldo Guayasamín, who is the Picasso of the Americas, an absolutely amazing man for liberation theology and the workers' movement and making sure the pre-Columbian artifacts were not ending up in the great museums of the world, but were actually staying in Latin America.
Yeah.
And so after his death, I was fortunate. I was studying Spanish in Quito, and I got a chance to go to his house, which is now a museum. And it was the reason why this painting is on my arm is there's a collection of them and they are different emotions.
Mm.
And it's the first time in my life that I stood in front of a collection of paintings and tears just started streaming down my face. And it wasn't, I didn't know the history of I knew they existed because I'd seen pictures of them before, but I didn't do any research. I didn't read the little plaque. I wasn't listening to the little audio thing and the audio guide that was navigating me through the museum. At some point, I do that stuff and I think that is valuable. But
Absolutely.
the first engagement was just standing in front of it. And
Mhm.
the next thing, I can feel the tears right now. Like,
Absolutely. And
like,
here's what comes to me about your experience because I am vicariously sharing it, right?
yeah,
This is part of my emotional array. And I'm going,
yeah,
what happens is message received. Not
yeah,
just yours, but your message that was received to you that's now
yeah.
being transferred to me. It's like, message received. And I don't have words for that yet, but I know it's here, it's in me, and it is sort of percolating out to me, its expression. And I'm
Eh,
not ready yet. I'm still
yeah.
percolating.
And I think like just for those of us who are tappers, like the tappingqa.com, where you can ask me any question, the answer to the most common and uncommon questions in the tapping world.
Mm,
The single most common question I am asked is, what are the tapping phrases for insert issue?
indeed.
And 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 like I appreciate how when we are taught tapping, how words can feel magic
Mhm.
because if I am leading you through tapping that resonates with you, it feels effortless. And you're going and there's this release. And the dirty little secret is the words I'm saying are not effortless. The dirty little secret is exactly one of those 21 phrases I said resonated with you. And because that one resonated with you, you're ignoring the 20 phrases that didn't resonate with you. And you think, oh my gosh, Jean knows these magic words. And I said these words and it was so easy. And then I go to sit down on my own and I have no words. And so when we have that lived experience, the mistake we make is the skilled practice. Now, as a skilled practitioner, I have access to words and reframes and stuff like that that are useful, but they are not magic words that create the transformation. And what you're doing here, and as we're talking about emotions in this way without vocabulary, is you're giving people permission to just notice and tap without having to say something specific while they're doing that thing.
Absolutely. So if someone, I'm riffing on your stuff, if someone said, what's the right phrase or words to use for fill in the blank, my inclination is to say, what a great question. That depends. What's that like for you?
Yeah.
Right? And trying to, in a very nominal conversational way, get you in touch with your words and your expression of that, whatever that is. Because I am trying to separate you from this idea of there's a right word for this. No, there isn't.
Yeah. And I think that, like, the driving force of my work for the last year has been, how can I position people so they tap more? And position, and what I'm understanding in that and trying to tackle that and working with my clients and working with my students is, it's not another method, it's not another tool, it's not another approach. It's and what's really interesting, and this is dawning on me as we're having this conversation. So I found my way to tapping because of my social anxiety. But the reality was, the way it manifested itself almost every single time was entry. Once entry happened, it was no longer an issue. Once I got one facial cue, once I got a response, once I asked for help and they helped me, then all of it melted away. And so it wasn't a discomfort and a dissafety around being around other. It is the reason why I am uncoolly punctual, and I'm not punctual because I'm uncool. I am uncool, but my uncoolly punctualness was, I was not stepping into a formed community where I had to find my place. If I was the first one there, I interacted with the host, and then as the community built around me, I was already in that place. And that entry point was the scary part. And what I'm finding when we're struggling with getting us to tap more, it's not knowing how to tap. It's not having the right tool. It's having the available first step that I feel comfortable, that once it starts moving, once it starts rolling, then I'm okay. Then I'm in the flow. Then I can notice and I can do those things. Sure. And the permission that you're giving us as we tune into these things that are experiential, not verbal, and being able to go, great, I just want you to find a way to just start. And then because the tapper's conundrum, be as specific as possible.
Yes.
And we mistake that for being specific. And sometimes as specific as possible as, I am so angry. I am so angry because. And it's the intervention that is creating the space for me to understand the visceral thing that is going on.
Absolutely.
But if I am repelled by engaging with the visceral thing, I never get to, in that little demonstration, the 11th tapping point where I start to go, Oh, that's the message that is coming from this
Yeah.
thing. Because just because it's banging on the door doesn't mean I've seen the message, doesn't mean I understand the message yet. I'm just going, okay, it's there. I'm walking to
Yeah.
beat this lovely analogy to death. I'm walking to the door. I'm opening it up. I'm getting the message. I'm giving it a tip. Like, and it's all of those things before I even get here to the opening.
And then sometimes you look at it and go, I think this might be written in Swahili. I
Right.
think I can read this yet.
That's right.
Right. And so I'm going to bring you back to the idea of the conundrum of learning how to be quite specific, to focus like a laser with
Yeah.
your words on things. I have learned over the years a couple things. One is that it's temporal, not yet is often what's going
Yeah.
on here. Not yet so specific, right? Because we're coming from an emotional first aid and an understanding of the somatic response or the sympathetic dominance going on with them right now, which is just to say, hey, something's happening right now for them that we're not going there yet, right? Yet a favorite of mine.
Yeah, I went to a month and a half ago. I went to a really, and I wish I remember what LD's last name was. I went to a really lovely talk on quantum physics and magic. It is hosted at this lovely little magic theater, 69 Atlantic, that is sprung up at the end of Atlantic Avenue, right underneath the BQE, about to fall into the East River. You know exactly where we are.
Town you're taking me.
We're doing it. We're 100%. We're doing that for sure. They're the best. But one of the things that she was talking about, like, as we like struggle with things on a quantum mechanical level, is how depending on the distance you have at something, it looks differently. It acts like a particle or it acts like a wave. And the vocabulary that LD introduced me to that I had not heard before was coarse tuning. COARSE, which is the opposite of fine tuning.
Yeah.
That sometimes what we need to do to have access to what is going on, we need precision and we need fine tuning.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we need to understand what is going on is we need coarse tuning. We need to, like, it is the impressionistic picture. It's the pointillism that it's the tube television in 1984. If I am too close to it, it's not that my vision is going to go bad, but it's just a bunch of little green, yellow, and red dots. And I have to step back from the Matisse. I have to step back from the tube television to be able to understand what's going on. And I think that, like, we have been, as transformational people and as tappers, we have been so conditioned to go, how fine tuning can I get in this particular moment? And that is useful, except when it's not.
Yes.
And like I constantly keep giving myself permission to go in and go out as I am thinking about my engagement with this sort of thing.
And so I want to give homage to what I often call the original EFT master, Ann Adams, who finally was able to get through my noggin. She went, it's about the application, not the tool. No. Oh, and so she has taught me over the years. She really has. And I appreciate that, because coarse tuning, fine tuning, a temporal, it depends, not now, not yet, all of that is talking about the application, just like you are right now.
Yeah.
Right? And so that application has all those elements to it. That's what makes it still exciting for me to train people, because what you see above the waterline is the iceberg where everybody, well, you do this, you know, and underneath it is the majesty and the mystery that we're talking about right now, the application magic of the tool set that causes the transformation to be real for you.
And just as a little side note, I actually said to my team as I was wandering through, we were having a conversation about something. I said, there are people in this world and tapping that I respect as much as Ann Adams. There's nobody I respect more than Ann Adams. So with that sense of application, we got 10 minutes ish. I think if it is possible, like, And again, we're talking about something that is without words, that is ethereal, that is all of that sort of stuff. Like, it would be lovely if you could, if you're available, if you're open to it, to kind of share what it might look like as we are like trying and engage with emotion and using these amazing tools that we have access to, and kind of
Mhm.
demonstrate what that feels like. So just, you know, a couple hundred of us who are gathered here right now kind of an opportunity to kind of like play
Sure.
with that. I'm not asking you to, because I think that that's the place that you thrive in, is not, don't tell me what to do. Let's create a
Mm.
playground and play with this a little bit.
And I love that 172%. And I will point out to all of us, including myself again, you cannot reasonably play if you don't feel
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
If you don't feel safe, this is number one. You have
Yep.
to have a sense of safety, even if it's not consciously in your mind right now. Your
Yep.
body knows, and that's where this playfulness, I'm going to build on that, right?
Yeah.
But in service of that, I'm going to make a little phrase for us, and let's just tap with a few of these ideas. They're conceptual rather than the fine tuning,
Hmm.
right? What if I could let my language be looser?
Hmm.
What if I could not push away what I don't understand yet? What if I could agree to sit in the slight discomfort of not knowing for at least another moment to
Yeah.
see if there's something useful to learn here? What if I allowed myself to receive whatever this thing
Yeah.
is trying to communicate to me? What if, even though I might have felt that before, what if there's something new here
Yeah.
that I just don't recognize yet?
Yeah.
What is revealing about this? What feels like it has something to say?
And I'm going to pause you just for a second. Everybody who's joining with us, Jondi is not asking questions to set up the work that we are doing. We're
Mm.
doing the work right now. So you can tap on the side of the hand. You can move from tapping point to tapping point as you're engaging in all of this stuff. But like, just engage in the process and listen and ponder the questions. And some of them are going to land and some are going to bounce off, but that's okay.
Absolutely. What we are doing is loosening the language so that everyone could join in somehow. Like you said, not every.
Yeah.
But what if there's something new here for me and I'm going to allow at least another minute for that to show up? What is beginning to unfold
Mhm.
that might be helpful? What if I could get something useful, even if it's just one picture, one image, one color, one moment, one memory? What if by opening up, I can feel the whole message instead of just the momentary spark? What would that be like for me? What might happen if I allowed that? What could be different this time?
And I think what is so valuable, and everybody just keep tapping as we engage with this. Like, I love how non-definitive every single bit of that is.
Hmm.
That's so liberating, because and I've talked about this multiple times as we worked our way through this. Like, every single time I start tapping, it is with a intention in mind. Now, sometimes the intention is just to put myself back in my body, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's clear a limiting belief and deal with the pain. But even if I am starting with this sense of intention,
Mhm.
to then step into it with this open-ended exploration is just softening, it's opening, it's all of those things.
Kind, compassionate curiosity
Yeah.
spoken here and
Yeah.
given freely. I'm I'm going to give another phrase that I found helpful, which is something like this. Even though I do not have all the answers about this yet, I'm choosing compassion over control.
Yeah. Wow. Preach.
What might happen if I did?
Yeah.
I'm a very visual person. I used to be a painter, and I can almost feel, how does it look when I just open to a more porous reception vessel? How might that come in differently and organically and microscopically and form some new thing?
And one of the I'm a collector of useful phrases, and not that they're like written in stone, but like I like a giant bowl of Lego bricks. Give me all the Lego bricks so I can build the thing. And it's, I'm not going to use your exact words, but it's like this idea, but what would happen if I did that? Which, and for me, like one of the, like, I've come to the realization that my tapping style is an ancient Germanic language, which is, the Germanic language is the land of prefixes and suffixes. If you have a complicated thought, there is a 37-letter German word that is 9 words smashed together that perfectly encapsulates that thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, I love having these, I'm open. I give myself permission to like, I don't know the answer to this, but if I did, like, I'm letting myself off the hook of having to be right.
Yes.
And I wonder what would happen if this was a possibility, is I'm not committing to the thing. I'm not doing the thing. I am just pondering it might be a possibility, and that softening in that prefix is because our subconscious mind just wants to be helpful, and it thinks the way to be helpful is to be right. And the moment I left I can almost feel like this part of my head declenching every single time I give it permission not to know or to ponder or to be curious as I'm engaging with this. And it just becomes liberating. And it's like, oh yeah, that's the thing.
This is another great word, I think, for us to give a little vacation to. Right. Perfect. Correct. Just, if I could put those down for a moment, not banishing them from the kingdom of work, but I'm giving them a big vacay. They need one. And so I say, what if that just felt better? I've been saying feel better fast for years, right? What if this felt more like me? What if this felt clearer and easier to digest? All of those, I feel, are much more helpful than this mindset of correct, right, wrong, for that matter. What if there's no such thing except subjectivity in the person themselves, right?
Awesomeness. Well, unfortunately, fortunately, we have other fabulous things. Unfortunately, this conversation is going to be continued at another time, because you and I are in the process of having a 16-year-long conversation about this. That there are pauses and breaks in between, but we just keep managing to navigate our way through all of this. So once again, I just so appreciate your ability to just be present to us as we're navigating our way through all of this.
Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for all you do. And you too, Elaine. I see you.
Awesomeness. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay, bye.
Awesomeness. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. As you look at the screen right now, you can see a link to the entire playlist of every single conversation for previous 24 hours of tapping. There are over 120 presentations waiting for you. And please consider supporting the amazing work of the Peaceful Heart Network.